making WoW more approachable. Okay, so with Midnight, we aim to make gameplay clearer and easier to understand. So like, this is good from a content perspective. Like when you play a game, you want people to understand what's happening. When you're playing like Fortnite or chess or like Roblox or like League, like a lot of the times you can, or Counter-Strike, like a player might not even play the game, but they can understand all of those games kind of at a surface level. But when you watch WoW for the first time, if you don't play, like it is impossible to tell what's going on. So I think this is warranted, right? They're trying to make it just easier to watch, easier to play, easier to hop in. We're updating every class spec with an eye towards approachability by reducing complexity and making gameplay more intuitive. So this is, I think, where people might push back a bit and say like, whoa, you're gonna make the game easier by reducing complexity. Is this a good thing? I think this is a fair thing to be speculative of. I think it's a fair thing to be like, uh-oh. What's like, is this a good thing? I think it could be a good thing. It could also be a bad thing. I actually love simplicity. I love the philosophy of reducing as much as possible that doesn't need to be there. If it doesn't need to be there, let's get rid of it so we can have a more minimalistic, accessible user interface. So I like the philosophy, but it's a very dangerous one if you go too far. And what I mean by that is removing things that make the class, removing the class identity, removing the class feel in aim of making it more accessible or less complex. So it's a fine line. You want to remove the unessential, keyword unessential. You have to keep the things that are core to the class design, right? So it's a tricky thing to do, but if they do it right, I think it's good. If they do it wrong, I think it's bad. We're beginning by focusing on what makes each spec unique and designing gameplay that matches their theme, so your character's personality and style are reflected in how you play. Our goal is the most appealing, visible elements of your spec to be what matter most in gameplay. That often means managing resources, tracking a few buffs and debuffs, and using ability charges strategically, and responding to important triggered effects known as procs. We want to ensure players have all the necessity information to play with clearly visible prompts and indicators in the UI. This can include changing the design of complex abilities or reducing the number of buffs that can be active so it's easier to pick out the most essential information on the cooldown manager. I mean, generally, if they do this right, I think this is fantastic, right? If you're going to get one shot by something, it should tell you. Like, or not tell you, but like it should be somewhat clear that this thing is scary. It shouldn't just be like a normal cast bar, right? Like you should have information on the screen in the game without having to go to a third-party add-on. Sure. We're also reviewing the amount of concentration or cognitive load required to play each spec. This, I could see players having some pushback on, especially if you're like a top-end player or like a mythic level player, high-end player. It's like, you enjoy the cognitive load. That's why you play the game. It's nice to have a lot to think about at the same time. That's what keeps it enjoyable. I could see some pushback here. Cognitive load encompasses tasks such as keeping tracks of auras, parsing conditions to choose the most effective ability in a given moment, or remembering long sequences of abilities. Yeah, players like this. A lot of players like this. Some specs will demand more cognitive load than others by design. Yeah, definitely. Mages are definitely way harder than the rest. Keeping track of damage over time effects requires concentration, but it's also a big part of the appeal of specs like Affliction, Feral, and Assassination. However, we're reviewing all these specs where areas of concentration demands are excessive, unclear, or don't deserve enjoyable gameplay. Yeah, these specs are probably way easier. I think they mean what they mean is arcane mages are incredibly difficult, but some players can handle them and some players can't. Anyway, ultimately our goal is that once every specs has all its new talent points, hero points, and apex points, it has what we feel is a manageable, fun, and appropriately challenging level of complexity. Okay, so to be honest, I'm really excited for this. I'm very nervous that they screw it up, but I'm like, if they pull it off, I think it would actually make WoW way better. I think it would make PvP way better, which has me kind of excited. But I'm a little nervous that it could actually kind of ruin PvE. I'm a little nervous from the PvE side of things because a lot of players enjoy this.